What's the difference between a trust and a living trust? So we're going to have this conversation because many of you don't know the difference. And in our conversation, we're even going to bring in the topic called a will, because there are people who say you need a will and no trust. Absolutely not the truth. So a couple things we're going to talk about to get you really clear today. The critical elements of having a living trust and what's essential about it. The next thing we're going to talk about is how a living trust can protect your estate and all your properties and actually hold your assets. And the last thing I want to talk about is why you should consider setting a trust up early. A lot of times people will say in their 20s, well, I'm not ready, 30s, I'm not ready. And all of a sudden you're scrambling once you have kids. So we're going to talk about when is it appropriate to start a trust and what are your scenarios. So get a pen and paper. To have this conversation, I'm bringing Scott to our call. He's an expert. He's a partner of mine in the trust conversation. And let's break this down. So welcome, Scott. Hey, Scott, welcome to our interview today.
Hey, thanks. Love being here.
So Scott and I are partners in a trust company, and we love educating you because without a trust, generational wealth gets really, really challenging. I'd probably go to the extreme and say impossible. So let's start breaking this down. What are the critical elements in a living trust and why are they essential?
Yeah, so the critical elements of a living trust, a true comprehensive estate plan, are your durable power of attorney for healthcare and your advance directive, your durable power of attorney for assets. So who's going to be dealing with the assets in your estate and the allocation of those assets based upon your last wishes. Then you have your living will. So living will states what we can do with the assets while we're alive. There it is. Then you have your nomination of conservator. So the nomination of conservator is, again, if you go into what's called living probate and unable to speak for yourself or become incapacitated, who's going to be making the decisions for your healthcare and how those things are going to be dealt with. If you don't have that put in place, the courts are going to appoint a conservator, and that might be somebody you don't even know. In addition to that, you have your last will and testament and pour over will. So again, this is how we want the assets to be allocated, whether all the assets get allocated at once, if they get allocated in thirds, and what percentages go out to the beneficiaries and or, churches, charities, things like that. Then you have the trust, and the trust component is the legal agreement that allows the estate to bypass probate. So with all of these critical components, it creates that comprehensive estate plan that will allow you 100% to bypass the probate process.
Would it be accurate to say that a trust, like a will, and there's the durable powers, are all sections and components of the living trust, correct?
They are sections and components of the living trust, absolutely. And that, like I said, it creates the comprehensive estate plan versus just a trust. So without those.
Yeah, and I just have to divert to this question. Why do so many estate lawyers get it wrong? And you and I are in front of it all the time, especially when we hear the worst ones who say, oh, we're not a probate state. I'm sorry, every country, every province, upon death around the world, you will go to probate. It's the one place you want to avoid. It is not a stopping ground on your way to wherever you're going after you leave this planet.
Absolutely.
So many people do that. So talk about how a living trust can protect your estate from probate. And again, why that is the worst place you'd ever end up. To me, it's devastating when families that had some awareness about what we do and that they could have a living trust, then they land in probate. It's like, that's so avoidable.
Well, and that's, one of the biggest things is a lot of families will think, we're still young, we're still vibrant, we're good. We don't plan on anything happening to us. But it goes back to that old saying of no one's promised tomorrow. And so, having a living trust put in place is the only way to protect your estate from the probate process. Like I said, probate can reduce the estate by 45 to 55% of its value in the probate process, which is absolutely atrocious. That's why, when we see these families that are breaking up and, the massive amount of wealth that is just being taken by the probate attorneys and fees and all these, the state. It's just ridiculous.
It is. Before I do some conversation with our subscribers, Scott, talk a little bit about why so few people even take this seriously. I think it's so critical. Not only that probate would be the worst place I'd ever want my family to end up in, but talk about why this is so impossible to get through some people's little heads. I mean, it's the most critical thing. If you have accumulated even $100,000, why have half of it go, like Scott said, I mean, 50% could go to the state. So a lot of people don't think their net worth is high enough. So just talk about that a little bit. I think it's so critical.
So it's not just about, the wealth. It's how do you want your health care to be dealt with if if you become incapacitated or unable to speak for yourself. Plus, how do you want your estate to be handled? So, you are correct. There was a statistic out there that 60% of Americans will procrastinate on setting up a trust. And I think the biggest reason is no one wants to think about their own mortality, right? I mean, that's huge. No one thinks, oh, well, I'm going to pass away, so I need to get this in place. Well, going back to beginning with the end in mind, having a clear vision of where you're going, right? A trust is a critical component of bypassing the probate process and, creating that generational wealth.
The other question too is, do you need a lawyer to do this?
So in most states, you do need a lawyer to assist. We have a network of different lawyers that we've built over the years in those personal relationships. I can call them up and say, hey, I've got a new trust for you. I need to get this thing going now.
So you need one in the state, but they don't have to be the one beginning and facilitating. So what we do at Generational Wealth is we bring the behavioral side of, just because you have one, because a lot of estate lawyers will just set one up and then you still don't know what to do or behave in it properly, which is why Scott and I formed this, to really have the behavioral side of making sure your family gets it right. So before I go to my last topic for Scott today, I want you to subscribe to our channel. If you're not here yet, click that notification button so you get notifications 5 days a week, pop it into your phone, and then make sure you watch the video. And share it with at least 5 to 10 of the friends that need this conversation. And specifically to this topic, either your parents that haven't passed and they don't have a trust, or to your children. Share this video as much as you can, please. Please, if there's a topic we're not talking about, put it in the comment section and we will be back with more conversations for you and learning. So Scott, the last topic is why you should consider setting up a living trust early, like right now would be the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my son is 25 and, I've got a granddaughter and he owns assets and, you need to set it up early on because, again, going back to what I said previously was nobody is promised tomorrow, right? And so setting it up early ensures that your estate is managed according to your wishes. It helps create that generational wealth and ultimately prevents family disputes over the estate. Early planning ensures that your beneficiaries really can handle the inheritance smoothly without that legal complication or the battles. So that's really why you need to form it early on.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely critical. And we have a report that is in the description below. Scott, talk a little bit about the report, why they need to get it, which will then take you into a private one-on-one with Scott and or his team to talk about your situation so we can help you early and now get established.
Absolutely. So if you go to download the report basically indicates it gives a detailed description of why you need to have a living trust put in place. It outlines the differences between a will and a trust. It shows the process. It gives an actual diagram of the step-by-step process of what going through probate with a will looks like and what bypassing probate with a trust looks like. Then it also outlines what is included in the comprehensive estate plans that we put together for our clients. Clearly defines each individual section, the durable power of attorneys, the living will, the last will and testament, the pour over will, everything that you need to successfully navigate that, or that your beneficiaries need to successfully navigate that passing of the estate.
It's so essential. So start today, start early, grab our report. It's in the description below. If you have any questions, go to askloral.com, ask a question, make a request. We'll be back tomorrow with more.